Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. Tuesdays at noon Eastern, I like to spend a little bit of time talking with you about, your questions related to job search, because I believe it doesn't have to be as hard, difficult, painful, or take as long as it does. It's just the skills needed to find a job are different from those needed to do a job. And I don't question your ability to do your job, but you don't know about job search like I do. And it's one of the reasons why, number one, I do this show. I want to answer your questions about job. Okay, we're back with audio. So if you believe that you have the ability or have the knowledge to do the job, I'm surprised because you wouldn't be here. I want to answer your questions about job search because that's the universe I've lived in for my entire career. So if you've got a question about your job search, you can put it into chat so I can answer it live. Also, I want to invite you to connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/the big game hunter. Mention that you saw this because I like knowing I'm helping some folks. Once we're connected, your network is going to be substantially larger because I was an early adopter on LinkedIn. I remember, get this number, 7653 of the more than 1 billion people on LinkedIn. 7,653 of the more than 1 billion people on LinkedIn. So reach out to me to connect, mention that you saw this so I can help you. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching from me, you can schedule time with me for an evaluation. It's called the Discovery Call at thebiggamehunter.us/schedule, or schedule time for coaching with me, because sometimes you just don't have the time to do an evaluation. As I did for someone yesterday, it becomes an opportunity. We dive right in. I help them with an interview preparation and we go from there. So long and the short of it is I'd like to help you. And if you want to schedule time for coaching, you can do that there. Or there's with coaching as well as with content at jobsearch.community, where I've got video courses, books, and guides designed to help you. So first question right out of the box. Excellent. Christina, it's been a long time. Nice to see you here. How do you vet whether a public company is financially healthy enough to be likely to offer job stability? So the answer is you can't. I wish it were different, but every firm at certain times is going through struggle. And at these particular times, it's rough out there. It's not just simply that the federal government has been putting in cuts. Almost every firm that you can imagine over the last 2 years has been cutting back on staff. Who hasn't been? That's the magic question. Who hasn't been? The banks? I don't think so. The investment firms? I don't think so. Maybe a stray hedge fund or so along the way, but everyone is struggling these days. So how can you investigate? Because the public knowledge, the public information is old. It's old. So you always start off with having the skills to make yourself marketable. I know you know that. So there's no reliability in any organization. Although they're going to tell you we've got a great organization with a terrific team of people, when they've got to make cuts, they're cutting back on people. It's really that simple. So, how can you tell whether a public firm is financially healthy enough to be likely to offer job stability? I don't think you really can. You can look for publicly available data. You can talk to people who work within the firm, but they're normally so far removed from that information, you're not going to get any sort of useful information to make a decision. So, we've known one another for a long time, Christina, although we haven't spoken in many years. I'm a no BS kind of guy. It's just not available in the way of information for most people to get. So you can read what you can find online. It's going to be older information. At least the bad stuff you can find, and the good stuff, that's not going to be revealed until quarterly reports. So if you can delay your interviewing toward the release of a quarterly report, that's going to serve you. But beyond that, you're what's that word again? Out of luck. I'll skip the first word on that. Okay, so with that, I've got more questions that were sent to me in advance. And if you've got one for me, I'd be very happy to answer it just like I did for Christina. Okay, so the next question is, and this was sent to me in advance. It's a little long, so excuse me on this one. So this person writes, I'm currently in week 4 of the interview process for a job that I really want. I've had the following: 1 phone interview, 1 in-person interview with the president, a design challenge, and 2 additional in-person interviews with department heads. Everything has gone really well and even received great responses on my follow-up thank you emails. I sent the follow-up email to the president the Friday after my Wednesday interviews and have not heard back. Should I follow up again? And thank you, Christina. Nice to hear from you as well. Sorry my answer wasn't more upbeat and couldn't really solve the problem, but I'd rather tell you the truth. So should I follow up again? So today is Tuesday and you messaged back on Friday. So should you follow up? It doesn't hurt. So I would send a quick email or text just to simply say, I know you're busy, I haven't heard from you or anyone in the organization since I completed interviews. When might I hear about next steps? That becomes a nice way to follow up. Just to acknowledge, I know you may be busy. I know this may not be your A priority, hiring someone to fill this role, but, I just want to see where I stood with the organization. So, yes, reach out. If she doesn't respond, I don't know if the gender of this person, if he or she doesn't respond, then by all means, you give it a couple more days and then let it go. Because the fact of the matter is, if they were into you, they'd respond pretty quickly. I might try one other person who you met with other than the president, because they're running a business. So maybe it's someone who you had a good hit with in the course of your meeting that would make sense for you to connect with. Don't know, but try it. Try a second person to see what they tell you. Okay. So long question, and let's continue on. Okay. Oops, sorry. Never only clicked on something. What do employers look for in a resume in 2025? That's easy. What they're looking for is someone who can help them solve a problem. They're trying to hire someone to do something for them. So what they want to do is they want to see that you have the information that would demonstrate to them that you fit the role. It's really that simple. And they want to see it. If you're applying for an applicant tracking system, that's going to be different than you're sending it to a person. For an applicant tracking system, it wants to see it within 1 page down, tops. And you can use, the beginning of the resume is like your cover letter. You can put the cover letter as page 1, and then page 2 begins the resume, so that this way, page 1 as the cover letter will highlight your skills that relate to the role that they're trying to fill. So flush right may have the skills for the position. Flush left would have how recently you've used that particular skill or performed that particular function as relates to the job that they're trying to fill. And then because the system will see it repeated a little later on in the resume, in the actual resume, which begins on page 2, it's going to see both recency and repetition, which these systems like to see. So the long and the short of it is, what are they looking for? Someone who has the required skills, can string a couple of sentences together, seems normal, nothing unconventional in the background. They're not looking for 10 jobs in 2 years. Although if you have explanations for that, they'd want to know that. But the long and the short of it is they want to see someone who can do the job or they think can do the job within one page down of their resume. Because longer than that, systems think it's older experience and it's less desirable. So you want to get it front and center early on. Okay. Next question is, should I bring my resume to job interviews? Yes, but don't force it on them. What you can do is very simply demonstrate to them. Like if they're fumbling around looking for something, or they're having trouble locating it on the system, you can say on their system, you can say, I have a resume with me if you like. And that's as much as you should really say. Sometimes they're disorganized. Sometimes someone's stepping in to stall for time while their next person, who's the real interview, is finishing up something, and they don't want to be rude. And thus, as you start the conversation, you can see pretty clearly they have a resume. And thus you can say, I get the idea that you've been asked to cover for so-and-so while they're finishing something. And if you like, I can give you a copy of my resume. Very casual, really very casual. But it's not because it's an important thing to do anymore. These things are on people's systems. They usually have access. And thus, it's not a problem to offer it if you notice they don't have access to it currently, or they're having trouble locating it. Okay. I've got more, but I'm going to mention again, if you've got a question for me, put it into chat so I can answer it live. Also, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/thebiggamehunter. If you're interested in scheduling time for a discovery call or a paid coaching session, you can do that at thebiggamehunter.us/schedule, and you can take care of that there. Okay. So here we got another question that was sent to me. Are job interviews done by phone usually easier or harder? Well, let's get out of the way that let's assume that you have the required skills. So to me, they're both easier and harder. They're easier that they can't see that you have notes out. They can't see that you have your resume out. They can't see that you've got cheat sheets with you. All they have is your voice to go by. They can't be influenced by how good looking you are, what a great wardrobe you have, things along those lines. And thus, your only sales tool for connecting with someone is your voice. They're not going to be influenced by your appearance. And for some of us, that's good news. For some of us, it's not good news. So it's both easier and harder to do a phone interview versus a face-to-face one. Okay. Let's see now. Is it appropriate to follow up on a job application via email if the employer specifically requested no phone calls or emails regarding status updates? No, of course not. How blunt do they need to be in order to get the point across that they don't want you contacting them? From their standpoint, they don't want to take the time to respond to all 152 people who've uploaded their resume in the first few hours after the position went online. What they're basically saying is, don't call us, we'll call you if we're interested. And it makes sense, because from their standpoint, they're going to waste a lot of time kissing a whole bunch of frogs when what they want is a prince or princess to kiss. And frankly, having read hundreds of thousands of resumes, most of you are frogs. And if kissed, will never turn into a prince or a princess. It's just the reality of it. So don't follow up. If a couple of weeks goes by, don't follow up. If you know someone who works at the firm, that's different, but I'm assuming you don't. So don't follow up, don't harass people, because that's the way they interpret it. I told them not to contact me. Why are they doing this? And they get annoyed and want to hate on you. So I'll just simply say, let it go. Seriously, let it go. And if they're interested, they're going to be in touch. Like, I know there was a firm I been interested in working for a while. And their ad said, we'll be in touch with a select group of people who we might be interested in speaking with. And it's going to take months. Okay. So 8 weeks goes by. I get an email that says, you have an interesting background for the role that we have in mind, and we'd like you to complete this application. Okay, so I do the application, and then 2 more months goes by, and I recently received a message from them saying, we'd like you to complete this onboarding information for us, so that in this way, when we're ready to roll at the beginning of March, you're going to be among the people we're going to work with. Okay, we haven't discussed hourly rate. We haven't discussed much of anything, but they want to get the onboarding done, so I do it. And all told, this has been 4 months in the making to get to this point. Follow their instructions, just like I did. If they're interested, great. Do you think your phone call or email saying, are you interested? Do you want to talk to me? Is going to make them change their mind and talk to you? Of course not. Of course not. They don't care. They don't care enough. So don't contact them, okay? Now, if you know someone who works for the firm, that's different, but don't contact them. Don't annoy them. Don't harass them, okay? Can an employer track you if you've used the same resume and cover letter for multiple job applications only at their firm? If it's at different firms, no, they can't. But if it's at the same firm, yes, they can. Normally, these systems, multiple firms use the same applicant tracking system. And they're not searching for you by name at a subsequent point. You apply for their job, it goes to the overall applicant tracking system. They get notification that they've received the resume, they review it, and they make a decision. They're not sending it over to someone else's job. They don't do that. All they want to do is evaluate you for their role and make a decision as to whether or not your background is appropriate for them. That's it. That's it. So don't sweat it. Seriously, don't sweat it. More yet. Let's see now. Is it necessary to provide a CV or resume when applying or interviewing for a job at a specific company? Are there any consequences for not providing one, or is it simply considered bad business etiquette? It's stupid, not bad business etiquette. How are you applying for a job without a resume? You're writing a letter to them? Why not give them what they want in the way that they expect it or want it, rather than simply saying, hi, contact me. I think I'm qualified. So I'll just simply say what you can do going forward is have a resume crafted to an individual job so that this way you can demonstrate your fit for the role. And this way you stand more of a chance than simply sending a letter or you can send the URL to your LinkedIn profile. That could substitute for a resume. But the long and the short of it is don't do dumb stuff. Seriously, don't do dumb stuff. Have a resume ready. So if you're applying for a job, I will tell you from experience, because I've read hundreds of thousands of resumes, and people who asked me to contact them because they said they were a fit, long and short of it is, didn't work. Didn't work. All I did was hit delete because they were wasting my time. I want to know before I pick up a phone and call someone that they have someone that they are qualified to do the role that they claim is capable of doing. So, is it considered bad business etiquette? Not bad business etiquette. Stupid. It is stupid. I've got a few more questions. I think I can cover all of them today. Let's see how we go. And again, if you've got a question for me, put it into chat so I can answer it live for you, okay? Let's see now. 3 more questions in total were sent to me. I'm just having a little trouble highlighting. There we go. And let me paste. Good. What does it mean If an employer does not respond to your job application after saying they'll be in touch about the shortlist, well, it means one of a couple of things. Number one is they're not interested. You know that. Number two is they haven't gotten to it yet. They haven't finalized the shortlist, because you're not telling me how long this has been since they said this to you. Don't know. If it's an hour, if it's a day, they may be harvesting lots of resumes or receiving lots of resumes, and they're not going to do it until they go through many more. But usually when they're not in touch with you, it means that they're not interested. That's the fact of it. And again, you know that. But the other possibilities are they're not ready to commit to people being on the short list. They're not ready to commit to interviewing more people. And if you were on a first interview and they've said, we're going to put a short list together of people we're talking to that we want to speak to in person, all that means is you made it past the screener to an individual who is going to be really equipped to evaluate you. So don't sweat it. Seriously. If they're not interested and they're not interested, they may wind up ghosting you. You know that. And a lot of firms are doing more ghosting again because they have lots of choices available. So, it will be what it will be. Okay. Is it necessary to have both a CV/resume and a LinkedIn profile? Yes. Yes. Although LinkedIn encourages you to submit your profile to them when you apply for roles, it's not the best way to do it because it's one generic positioning of yourself and your qualifications versus something tailored for the specific job. Resumes are for when you're the hunter, where you're reaching out to people, where you want to get their attention and you're being proactive. LinkedIn, although you can do the same thing there and submit a resume, your profile allows you to be hunted. And as such, it's necessary to have both in order to maximize the possibilities for you for finding something. So yes, it's necessary to have a resume and CV as well as a LinkedIn profile. Last question for today, unless someone puts something into chat. Okay. What are some reasons why people may lie about their experience level and skills on their resumes and LinkedIn profiles? I'm always fascinated by the questions I'm asked. They lie because they want the interview, and they think if they lie, they'll get the interview. Now, the fact is they may not be qualified, but they're going to try and get in the door in order to get the interview so they can try and impress someone and have the shot at being hired. Years ago, I owned a search firm. I had 25 people working for me, and I had a client that was trying to hire 5 or 6 people. And each of the people came into my office with 3 resumes. And they wanted me to get all these people in. And I said to them, no, my client is not going to talk to 75 people for 5 positions. They're going to want me to filter down to a select group of individuals to submit. Well, people are trying to be part of that 75. And in doing so, they want to get down to being among the 5. So they lie about their background and experience in order to get interviews. And they're hoping against hope that their background is going to be sufficient to get the job. Most of the time, that doesn't happen. But that's the logic behind it. They want to be in a situation where they get interviewed and have a chance of being hired. And again, when people are lying about their background, one of the worst things that can happen is you get hired, because then you go there and you fail. You fail. You lose your job. You then have to explain to your husband, wife, or partner, the kids, the dog, the cat, the hamster, whoever it is, why you're not working after you worked so hard to get this role. So that's why they lie. They want to have a chance of getting hired. So that this way they can get back to work or change jobs or whatever it is, rather than sitting in a job that they detest or being out of work. So I hope you found this helpful. I'm Jeff Altman. I want to encourage you, if I'm still here for another minute or so, if you've got a question for me, put it into chat so I can answer it live. However, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/thebiggamehunter. Mention that you saw this because I like knowing I'm helping some people. Once we're connected, your network is going to be a lot larger because my first level connections are going to become your seconds and vice versa. But I tend to have more connections than other people do. Also, you can schedule time for a coaching session or a free discovery call. That's where a discovery call, I don't coach people. I let you evaluate me and my capability of helping. And you can do that at thebiggamehunter.us/schedule. Now, with coaching, whether you book me through the website or book me through jobsearch.community, you'll get access to all my video courses, books, and guides. But if you go directly to jobsearch.community, one of the advantages is I've got some free stuff on the homepage that you can download for yourself. You'll again get to learn from me. One of the things is diagnosing your job search problems. Another one is about elevator pitches. I'll just simply say, I hate elevator pitches, or I did for a long time until I learned this model. I think you'll like it and will help you connect with people much more easily. So I hope you have a terrific day. And most importantly, be great. See you next week. Take care.